My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey everybody, Dave DeBow back at you, and let me ask you this. Have you ever wanted to get into buying more properties, self-financing your deals, but you kind of had a hard time with the cash? Well, some people like to do flips to make chunks of cash in order to go out and buy more long-term properties. And our special guest zooming in from beautiful Calgary, Alberta today is Yuriy Rogozian, and that's exactly what he's been doing. So Yuriy, welcome to the call. Great to have you.
Hello, Dave. It's great to be on the call with you. First time ever on the podcast. Look forward to it.
I'm honored that our podcast is your first show of many. So Yuriy, tell me something. Sounds like you might not be from Calgary originally. So tell us a little bit about the Yuriy story. Where are you from? How did you get here? And how did you get into real estate?
Well, I'll try to be, short in my history because there's lots things to talk about. Yes, indeed, I'm from Ukraine. I moved to Canada directly to Calgary in 2015. I've been purely engineering mindset. I did data analysis for pipeline inspection company back in Ukraine. Did the same thing here in Canada. We had all the Trans-Canada and Enbridge and all the big boys in the oil and gas industry. And then one way or the other, I started to notice that there are people in my inner circle that get involved in real estate, mostly at the time being landlords. Some has 10 properties, the other 5. And I'm like, okay, so there's something to it, and let me see if I can be part of that. Yeah. So I started to talk more to those people, start to research more, to go to different meetups and different, I try to get as much information as I possibly can with my, analytical mindset. I'm kind of engineer by spirit. At least that used to be, but now it's a little bit different than it used to be. Yeah. So that's where it came, and then the rest is history. The way how it developed and evolved.
Well, okay, let's talk about the history. So what kind of deals did you start off doing, and has that progressed or changed over the years?
Well, as most of us, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what's the right thing to do, and then you go with trials and errors. And I think until you try, you never know if it's going to work or not. And ideally, you try safely, which I guess I did, but at the same time I didn't. So as a lot of the people in the flipping business are lost a little bit, like needed 10,000 on my very first one. It's supposed to be quick and cosmetic flip in and out. And
okay, so you started right immediately doing flips, correct? Single family home flips.
Well, let me roll back a little bit. Yes, that was more like an investment mindset. Before that, I came with some chunk of money, and that's where I was like, okay, looks like real estate is a thing. Where do I put those money? So I got a counsel from my colleague saying, hey, like if you do buy a detached property, ideally, because you have a control. If you can do in a rough condition and you are a handyman and do something yourself, try to jack up the value, try to buy for the lot, for the land value, because at that time we have single family zoning and 2 family land. Yeah, like if you buy that piece of land, that land itself almost be the value of what you pay for the property. But then potentially you can have a basement suite, and then you will, house hacking thing. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I put all my money into down payment on that property. And then whatever I made on my full-time job at the time, I bought materials. I scraped where I could, whether it was Facebook or Kijiji or some Home Depot stuff. And I started to go at it. Like I took a month off from my full-time job when we had to move in, when we took possession. I took a month off. Yeah. And I thought, well, what could go wrong? I just take months off. Me and my wife, we do it all in 1 month, and
So
then we move
basically,
in.
you're house hacking. Is that what I'm understanding?
Pretty much
Yeah.
at that point, that was the plan. But we got it the whole main floor and the basement,
Yeah.
and then we thought we will put it back together in that 1 month. So obviously,
Yeah.
it didn't happen. So we had to, our rent was expiring, and we had to move into whatever condition the house was with 2 kids and my wife. And that next 6 months was the pleasant journey of real estate, because
Your
obviously
wife's going,
still,
you go, what the hell is this real estate thing you got us into, Yuriy?
it was quite an experience, but I've learned a lot what not to do, and I still did it later on. But overall, it turned out well. I developed the basement eventually. I built legal suite in it,
Yeah.
and a little nanny kind of space,
Okay.
which was claimed to be part of the main floor.
Yeah. So
And now
legal suite and a not so legal suite. Yeah, I
not,
get it.
yeah, not completely legal suite.
Yeah.
But it city didn't mind to have that set up.
Yep.
They gave me all the paperwork I needed. It was still considered part of the main floor. Calgary requires now having a license for every suite, which I had. I had
All right. So
provided
that was the first deal. Then where did things progress after that, Yuriy?
So yes, and that's where I'm like, okay, so now I can live, and the house pays for me living in it, because
Yeah.
those two Airbnbs in the basement, they did quite well. I did nice.
Oh, so you turned them into
finishes.
Airbnbs in the basement.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear that part. All right.
Yeah, and that those suites I thought long term, but then I've recognized, and I've learned a lot on the YouTube, mostly there's some guys who do it full time.
Yeah.
I learned from them. I did all they suggested, free. That information was free, and I'm sure it still is on YouTube somewhere. And then you apply that, and it worked like a glove. And
Nice.
then those two suites making me on average $5,000 a month.
Wow. Very nice. Well, that would hook
we
a guy.
moved away from that property into our next flip that we used to be, or supposed to be a flip, but it became our primary residence. So we moved out from that, and that becomes our, I would call it house hack 2.0 or advanced, where that house, now that we left, that house is paying for itself, and it's paying for our house where we live in now.
Oh, very nice.
So we kind of live mortgage free, technically, where that single property is now paying for all our expenses on these two properties.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what does the portfolio look like now, Yuriy? How many properties do you have? How many of them are short-term rentals? What do things look like?
So really, that's where I dove more into doing flips, because I really couldn't really accept or get access to more mortgages. I was aware at the time already that I could probably bring a partner who could qualify, but for me it was more like, okay, let me learn the grind, let me learn the investing
the business of doing flips.
Exactly, yes. And that's where I'm like, okay, so
our old friend Stefan Arnio, right?
Exactly, yes. That's where I'm like, okay, who is the best in the industry? And Stefan was one of the on the radar after my research. The problem at the time was that, again, my mindset and my experience was not there to, I guess, absorb the information that was given at the time. Like that was, to me, a little too soon now, as I'm looking back to it. I think those kind of advanced courses where you're spending close to 20,000 for your coach, you need to be maybe it works for some people who are just starting, but I feel like that's a little bit more advanced. And if you really want to scale and put systems in place based on your own already knowledge and your own mistakes, that to me, at least, that was much more beneficial. So now I think that if I did this in where I am, it would be much beneficial.
So what does your flipping business look like these days, Yuriy?
So after that, yes, I've done probably 7 flips where 3 of those were quite substantial. They were pretty much houses were taken down to foundation.
Wow.
I build 400 and change square feet additions and new walls, most of the time 9-foot ceiling, vaulted ceiling, new trusses, new everything, new systems, engineering, plumbing, HVAC, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
That was 300,000 plus renovations, if you call it renovation. Still, it technically still is. It's not a new build. If you comply with the Calgary's check marks where they see if it's renovation.
So how long would it take you to kind of do one of these major renovations typically?
Most of the time, like one of them I'm currently working on, it's about, I want to say 7 months, 6 to 8 months process.
Okay. Yeah.
It takes a little longer in permits still, but
and
not that
you're pretty
crazy.
hands-on, are you?
I yes and no. I'm trying to not to be, but very often in order to make things work, you have to kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like unless you have some really skillful and that's maybe in the next step in my career that could the next trade comes, but there's little things that needs to be adjusted here and there. Because my experience from doing that whole very first bungalow that is now feeding us all, I did everything pretty much. I've and again, YouTube been a great source of what it's been and how it's done in Canada and by Canadian norms. So I've done framing, I've done insulation, drywall, modding, tiling, plumbing, like you name it. Like I've done it all, and it still works after 3-4 years. And
well, that's proof in the pudding. So Yuriy, what are your plans moving ahead? Where are you taking your real estate business?
Well, it's I'm not sure where I heard it, but I'm trying to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So that is something that I need to, in order to learn and grow, I need to make those, not so comfortable decisions and
what does that mean?
A little bit of the outside of the comfort zone, which means I am now under contract for the prime lot in the prime community in Calgary, which is North Glenmore. For those who may be watching us from Calgary, they would know. And I'm planning to demolish it completely, and it's going to be fully new build property.
So you're going to do like an infill development type deal.
Infill, yes, exactly. So it's going to be a luxury bungalow with loft, which hopefully will sell in upwards of $2 million.
Wow, that sounds exciting. So moving ahead, are you planning to keep doing that kind of thing, or are you going to? It sounds like you've done pretty well with some of these buy and holds. Are you going to be doing any more of that, or are you just going to focus on flips and
for now, I'm trying to build my war chest to kind of being able to then put those money into buy and holds. For now, I'm still trying to recover, because most I like all the money I've had invested were pretty much gone with the down payment of the very first one. Right. And then there was a nice
expenses
bank hacking where you go to all the banks and you apply for lines of credit.
Yeah.
And with having a good job, they would offer you, and I guess you can take one of them, or you could say, yeah, I accept all of them, and you all of a sudden can have access to multiple lines of credit. So I draw those to finish the renovations and some other things, and then down payments on my flips. So that to recoup that kind of balance to zero took a while with some of the flips. Some of the flips were not also as profitable as I would like them to be. But when most of the time you bring someone else's money and for the down payment that you have to pay a little higher interest on, and then when you also use private money for your flips, a lot of the things while you learn takes a little longer, and therefore you spend a little more money for the to cover the interest cost of the investors, and that means that you have a little bit less to yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a cash intensive business, and sometimes the margins can be a little bit thin, and if it takes a little longer to sell than you thought.
Couple of years that our real estate is actually giving a trend to grow, even though most of the Canada is the kind of opposite to that. That's been a bit of a blessing for Calgarians, or at least to those who in this business.
Well, that's
So,
awesome.
but
Yuriy.
yeah, that's hopefully this new build has a bigger margin a little bit, and then eventually I'll have some of those funds to myself to being able to move them
What about the whole
into building
idea
a
of
long-term
doing
growth.
joint ventures with other people and using their money for your long-term buy and holds, and just, yeah, you won't have 100% ownership, but 50% of a whole bunch of properties is better than 100% of nothing.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. My only not the problem, but the challenge with that is if I want to scale and build systems in flipping, which most of my flips tend to be higher end flips where I'm selling them most of the time around $1 million.
Yeah.
Here in Calgary, it's a little, it's not the highest price, but it's above average. So, and then when you do renovation for your buy and hold, it's a little different trades, a little bit of different everything that you, but also it requires your own time to find the proper property to do the proper renovations. So I feel like I would spread myself a little thin.
I see.
In that regards.
You want to stay focused on one primary thing and really dial
kind
that
of
in.
master and build the systems in one business, and then hopefully once that is good enough and I feel safe and secure, then I could build that wealth kind of in a portfolio to
nothing wrong with that, Yuriy. That's that engineer's organized mind of yours, right? It's check the boxes, make sure you're very, very solid before. Nothing wrong with that. That's
most of the people I follow and I look up to. They say, just get good at something. Make your first, let's call it $1 million doing one thing. Then once you master that, then it's up to you. You can start scaling that as a business with using more people bringing into your business, and maybe that will give you still some margin, but free up your time. And that with that time, you could build something else. Or maybe you just keep it at that, let's call it $1 million, but then you can, once systems are in place, you can just right away go ahead and do something on the side without trying to scale that to even bigger thing.
Nothing wrong with that philosophy, Yuriy. All right, well, perfect. As we're wrapping up here, if people want to connect with you and find out more about what you're up to with these flips and this fun new development that you're doing in Calgary, how can they get more of Yuriy?
Well, I think you can connect me with just the way as it says, Yuriy Rogozian on Facebook, on the Messenger, on Instagram. Hit me up, DM. I'll be happy to respond and get in touch and connect with like-minded people from Calgary, or for that matter, across Canada.
Anywhere. Fantastic. Well, hey, good job on your first podcast interview, my friend.
Thank you, Dave. It was a pleasure to be your guest, and look forward to possibly next one that I have more to share with your audience.
I'm sure you will. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey there. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now, at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.